Hello, my little friends. Welcome to the Littlestory channel. I'm Bella. Have fun and learn with today's story. Remember, every story has something special to teach you. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you won't miss the new stories. Shall we begin? In the small, quiet town of Dark Hollow, whispers always followed the mysterious man who lived in the old house on the hill. His name was Mr. Vladislav, but no one knew much about him. He was rarely seen during the day, and at night, when he left his home, the air seemed to grow colder, and the shadows stretched longer. The children of the town believed he was a vampire, and rumors spread that his house held dark secrets no one should ever try to uncover. The rumors began when old Mrs. Marta, one of the oldest women in the town, claimed she had seen Mr. Vladislav walking through the cemetery late one night. He was wearing a black cloak, and his face was pale, like something out of a nightmare, she told anyone who would listen. And his eyes, oh, those eyes, they glowed red in the dark. There's no doubt about it, he's a vampire. People listened in shock and fear, and soon, the story spread like wildfire. People began to notice strange details. Mr. Vladislav never bought food from the market. He never attended any town events or parties during the day. Some even swore they had seen bats flying near his house at dusk. And then, there were the strange disappearances of pets, cats and dogs vanishing without a trace. One day, three brave friends, Lucas, Sophia, and Miguel, decided they had to find out the truth. What if he really is a vampire? Sophia whispered. We have to know. We can't live in fear forever. On a dark night, with the full moon lighting the empty streets, the three friends set out for Vladislav's house. The mansion looked even more terrifying up close, with its broken windows and doors creaking in the wind. Are we really doing this? Lucas asked, his heart pounding. What if he catches us? We have to be quick, Miguel said, trying to sound brave, though his eyes were wide with fear. They crept silently to the front door. Just as they were about to touch the doorknob, a sharp sound echoed through the darkness. Was it a whisper, or the wind? Did you hear that? Sophia asked, looking around nervously. The sound came again, louder this time, like someone, or something, was watching them. Let's just go inside, Miguel said, pushing the door, which, strangely, was unlocked. Inside, the air was cold and heavy. The wooden floor creaked under their feet as they walked down a dusty hallway. Old portraits lined the walls, but all the faces in the paintings looked sad. This doesn't feel right, Lucas muttered, glancing around. They climbed the stairs, and as they reached the top, a door creaked open. What's in there? Sophia whispered, her eyes wide with fear. They slowly approached and peeked through the crack. What they saw made their hearts stop. In the center of the room was a large window, and standing before it, with his back turned to them, was a tall, thin figure wearing a black cloak. Mr. Vladislav. He stood motionless, staring out at the moon. His face was pale as marble, and he was murmuring words in a language none of them could understand. Suddenly, Vladislav slowly turned his head, as if sensing the presence of the three friends. They froze, but it was too late. His eyes glowed red in the darkness, just like in the stories they had heard. What is he going to do? Lucas thought, paralyzed with fear. Run! Miguel said, pulling his friends back. They rushed down the stairs as fast as they could, the sound of footsteps echoing behind them. When they reached the door, they burst outside, but not without hearing one last eerie whisper from inside the mansion, "You should not have come here." Back in the town square, breathless and terrified, the three friends looked at each other. "He saw us," Sophia said, her voice trembling. "What do we do now? What will happen next?" From that day on, things got even stranger in Dark Hollow. Vladislav was seen more often at night, and the lights in his house stayed on late into the night. But there was something different about him. It was as if he knew the three friends were watching. Is he watching us now? Lucas wondered. The friends were left with more questions than answers. Should they tell someone what they had seen? Or should they try to uncover more about the mysterious Vladislav? Was he really a vampire? Or was there an even darker secret hidden behind his strange behavior? The story doesn't end here. The mystery of Vladislav has only just begun. What will the three friends do next? Are they in danger? And the most important question of all, who is Mr. Vladislav, really? The days following their encounter with Mr. Vladislav were filled with unease. Lucas, Sophia, and Miguel couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every shadow, every creak in the night seemed to carry his presence. "Do you think he knows where we live?" Sophia asked one afternoon as the three of them huddled together at their usual spot by the old oak tree. Lucas, who had been quiet since the night at the mansion, finally spoke. "I don't think it's just about knowing where we live." He seemed like he was waiting for something, or someone. "What if we've interrupted something bigger?" Miguel frowned, his usual courage wavering. "Maybe we should just stay away. Forget this ever happened." But deep down, they all knew that wasn't an option. Since they had ventured into Vladislav's house, something in Dark Hollow had changed. The air seemed heavier, and the town, which was usually quiet but peaceful, now felt suffocated by the weight of secrets. Pets continued to disappear, and strange howls were heard at night from the direction of the hill. People started locking their doors earlier, murmuring about a growing darkness in their midst. One evening, as the three friends were discussing what to do next, a strange letter appeared at Sophia's window. It was sealed with a red wax emblem in the shape of a bat. "What is this?" Sophia gasped, holding up the letter for the others to see. Her hands trembled as she broke the seal. Inside, the message was written in elegant, old-fashioned handwriting. It read, "You have seen what you were not meant to. The secrets of Dark Hollow are not for the curious. Beware, or face the consequences. The truth lies deeper than you can imagine." Miguel's eyes widened. He knows. He knows we were there. What does he mean, the truth lies deeper? Lucas asked, his mind racing. There's something more going on here. This can't just be about him being a vampire, if that's even true. Do we tell someone? Sophia asked, fear creeping into her voice. What if we're in danger? Before they could decide, a loud knock came from the front door. The three friends froze. It was late, and no one ever knocked on doors after dark in Dark Hollow. Slowly, they crept toward the door. When Lucas peeked through the window, he gasped. Standing on the doorstep was a tall figure, cloaked in black, the familiar red eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. It's him, Lucas whispered, his voice barely audible. What do we do? Sophia's heart raced as she looked from Lucas to Miguel. We can't stay here. We need to hide. But where? Miguel asked frantically, glancing around. The knock came again, louder this time, as if Vladislav knew they were inside and growing impatient. The three friends darted through the back door, running as fast as they could toward the edge of town, their breaths coming in short gasps. Behind them, the dark figure moved silently, effortlessly keeping pace. "We can't outrun him!" Miguel shouted, panic setting in. "Quick, the old church!" Sophia pointed ahead. It was said that no one from Dark Hollow ever entered the abandoned church at the far end of town. It had been closed for years, but it was the only place they could think to hide. They raced inside, slamming the door behind them. The air inside was thick with dust, and the moonlight filtered through the broken stained glass windows, casting eerie colors on the floor. "Do you think we're safe?" Sophia asked, her voice shaky. Lucas looked around, his eyes settling on a strange mark carved into the stone walls of the church. It was the same emblem from the letter, the bat. "What is this place?" he muttered. Just then, the door creaked open, and the cold wind swept in. Mr. Vladislav stood in the doorway, his eyes glowing brighter than ever. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice echoing in the empty space. "What do you want from us?" Lucas demanded, stepping forward. "Why are you following us?" Vladislav's gaze softened for a moment, and he sighed. "You've stumbled upon a secret, children. A secret older than this town, older than any of us. I am not what you think, but there are forces at work in Dark Hollow far more dangerous than I." The friends stared at him, confused. "What are you talking about?" Miguel asked. "What's really going on?" Vladislav stepped closer, his face more serious than ever. "There is something coming. Something dark and ancient that has been awakened. I've been trying to protect this town, but now that you've interfered, you've put yourselves in danger. The answers you seek are buried deep, and finding them may be more dangerous than you realize." "What is it? What's coming?" Sophia asked, her heart pounding. Vladislav turned, looking out into the night. "I cannot say more, yet. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be prepared for what's coming." With that, he disappeared into the shadows, leaving the three friends alone in the silent church, their heads spinning with more questions than answers. "What did he mean? What's coming?" Lucas asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "We're in way over our heads," Miguel said, shaking his head. "But we can't just walk away now." Sophia clenched her fists. "Whatever it is, we have to be ready. The real mystery has only just begun." And so, the three friends stood in the old church, knowing that their adventure was far from over. The question remained, what dark force had they unleashed, and would they be able to stop it before it was too late? As the three friends stood in the oppressive silence of the old, crumbling church, a cold shiver ran down their spines. The heavy air around them seemed to hum with secrets long buried beneath the earth. The ancient stones of Dark Hollow's chapel held dark stories, and it was as if the walls themselves whispered warnings that only the brave or foolish would dare ignore. In that moment, Lucas, Sophia, and Miguel realized they had only begun to unravel the twisted mysteries lurking in the shadows of their town. Whatever they had uncovered so far was merely the beginning, a single thread in a vast, tangled web. The weight of what was yet to come pressed on their hearts, but so did a growing resolve. They had ventured too far to turn back now. "We need to figure this out," Lucas finally spoke, his voice echoing slightly in the vast, empty church. His tone was steady, but there was a flicker of fear behind his eyes. "We can't let this darkness consume the town. We have to protect everyone." Miguel glanced around nervously, his uncertainty growing with every second. The shadows in the church seemed to dance, moving in ways shadows shouldn't. But how, Lucas? Miguel asked, his voice barely above a whisper. We're just kids. How can we fight something ancient, something so much darker than we ever imagined? Sophia, standing closest to the altar, clenched her fists. The flickering candlelight reflected in her determined eyes, making her look braver than she felt. She stepped forward, her chin lifted in quiet defiance. We may not have all the answers, she said firmly, but we've made it this far. If we give up now, what was all this for? We'll find a way, together. Their words hung in the air for a moment before they turned, walking out of the church and into the cold, biting night. The moon was high, casting long, eerie shadows over the twisted trees of Dark Hollow. The chill in the air cut deep, but something within them had shifted. They were no longer just frightened children stumbling through a nightmare. They were a team, bound by a shared mission that transcended their fears. As they made their way back through the winding, narrow streets of the town, their minds raced with questions. What was this ancient evil Vladislav had warned them about? How long had it been hiding in the town, waiting for the right moment to strike? And were they truly ready to face something so dark and dangerous? Despite the overwhelming sense of dread that had been following them since the beginning, they couldn't shake a strange new feeling that had taken root in their hearts: determination. Lucas, Sophia, and Miguel were no longer the same kids who had set out on this journey. They were something stronger now, something bolder. But the mystery was far from over. In fact, they sensed, deep down, that the real danger hadn't even begun to show itself. As they approached the familiar streets of their neighborhood, the distant howling of the wind seemed almost like a warning. What do you think Vladislav meant by, "The shadow is rising"? Miguel asked, his voice low, as if afraid of waking the dark force that lurked in the night. Lucas frowned, the weight of leadership pressing harder than ever. I don't know, but I have a feeling we're about to find out. Sophia's eyes scanned the horizon, looking at the faint outline of the church they had just left behind. Whatever it is, we'll be ready. We have to be. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it a haunting whisper. A feeling settled over the three friends, one of eerie certainty. The danger they faced wasn't just something from an old legend. It was real, and it was watching them. But as they walked back into town, something else lingered in the air: hope. They didn't have all the answers yet, but they had each other. And sometimes, that's enough to make all the difference. Lessons we can learn from this story. Courage in the face of fear. Even when confronted by overwhelming fear, the trio found the courage to stand their ground. This teaches us that bravery isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. Lucas, Sophia, and Miguel showed us that even when we feel small, we can face enormous challenges. The strength of unity. Throughout their ordeal, Lucas, Sophia, and Miguel never gave up on each other. Their bond became their greatest strength, showing us that we don't have to face our fears alone. Teamwork and friendship make us stronger and more resilient in the face of adversity. The power of curiosity. The curiosity of the trio led them into danger, but it also pushed them to seek out the truth. This teaches us that sometimes, asking the difficult questions and confronting uncomfortable mysteries can help us uncover important truths, even if the answers are frightening. Perseverance pays off. Despite facing an overwhelming and ancient evil, the three friends refused to give up. Their perseverance teaches us that, no matter how daunting the challenge, we must keep pushing forward. The journey may be long and difficult, but persistence can lead us to answers and victories we never thought possible. The story leaves us with a lingering sense of mystery. What exactly is the dark force rising in Dark Hollow, and how will Lucas, Sophia, and Miguel uncover the truth in time to stop it? Their adventure, and the lessons learned along the way, are far from over. The shadows are closing in, but the story has just begun. Did you enjoy today's episode? If so, please give the video a like and leave a comment below. Tell me what you learned. Share it with your friends so they can join our adventure too. Also, check out this story here, it's amazing. Trust me,